joining us today. Today's call is called Becoming a Creator with Detections AI. Erin will be diving in about how to build community and become a contributor. So, whether you're already on a platform, you're new to Detections AI, whether you're perusing detections right now, or you're trying to engage a bit more, this call is for you. If you aren't on Detections AI already, please note that there is an invite code right at the top right of our screen. Feel free to use community to join Detections AI if you haven't already gotten started. Um, Joined with me today is Aaron Moog. He is the head of community here at Detections AI, and Tim Peck. He's the director of threat research. I'm Caroline Matz, and I lead marketing over here. So if you have any questions, just general housekeeping, please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A box or go ahead and use the chat, whatever suits you. Otherwise, let's kick it off. Let's get started. Awesome. So, a couple things we're going to be covering today. Like I said, we are going to dive into building community together. For those of you who don't know, Detections AI is an online community of detection engineers and cybersecurity professionals. We're working together, we're using the power of AI, and we're creating awesome detections. So, this call is really going to cover the basis of building better together. So, with Detections AI, you're able to share your expertise, join different groups, and leverage detections from a global community. We're a community of more than 11,000 engineers, which is really exciting. Not only is that a platform for you to leverage, to get detections from, you have an 11,000 person audience to share your detections with. Which brings us to the second, growing your personal brand. So you can earn recognition in the detections engineer community, whether it's for you or your corporate brand. I'm sure Aaron will cover leaderboards, but we just unveiled leaderboards. So there's a number of different prizes and a number of different ways to get your flowers, if you will. And then, of course, our third point is leading groups, both public and private. So whether you're building a group, managing a group, or growing a group, whether it's your own personal group or an organizational group, this call will cover that as well. I don't know if I missed anything, but I'm sure Aaron will cover it. So I'm going to kick it on over to you, Aaron, and you can dive into the demo portion.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. I'm Aaron. I run the community portion of Detections AI and work with our customers and our contributors to get the most out of the platform. So I'm going to kind of start with sort of a product tour, if you will, a little bit, so everybody understands what they can do with the platform, as far as the social parts of it and groups and sharing and things like that. I'm not going to dive a lot into the actual art of building detections. That is what Tim does in his webinar, which I actually did yesterday, which should be on YouTube relatively soon. Really great deep dive into turning intel into detections and all those like subtle great things that you come into building detections. I'm not going to focus on that too much today, and of course anybody free to ask questions about that. But for the most part, we're going to focus on the actual community part of this versus the rule development. So when you join Detections AI, I guess the first thing to mention about our platform is it is invite only. Meaning that there is no public enrollment into the site. You can't just go to Detections AI and sign up. You need to be let in some way, shape, or form. And that's currently how we're running it. That's how we're going to run it for a while. At some point, we may decide to open it up to everybody to enroll. But for the sake of this call, let's stick with the idea that it's Detection AI's invite only. So odds are you all got here in some way and went through the enrollment process, either using an invite code or an actual invite from somebody, whether you requested it or it came through social platforms. We have a really, really high rate of referral where our community members invite other community members. It's actually a huge part of our growth, which is really exciting to see and really great. So the first thing you'll notice is once you're in, there's an invite button right here. So you can invite anybody you want. I will get into what this means. You probably will not see this part of it with the corporate team demo, but you can invite anybody you want. If somebody is already on the platform, this won't affect them at all. They'll just get a note that you invited them and they're already in. And if not, they'll get a magic invite that takes them through the process to create an account. So we see this a lot with somebody joins and they want to invite other people in their company or other people in their working groups, or even your own personal email. Sometimes people join with corporate and want to add a personal. There's no restrictions on this. You can invite as many people as you like. And then if they don't immediately join, we will send them a few reminders that they've been invited. So that's the invite function, but let's assume for the sake of argument you're already here. So let's start with profiles. So when you come in and you build your profile out, you have the option here to create your avatar. Everything on our platform for avatars and profile avatars is AI only. When it gets into groups and things like that, you can upload your own images. You don't have to use AI for things like your corporate logo. But for this, and if anybody hasn't messed around with this too much, maybe you came in and just picked your default image, you can actually go back in here. It will generate random avatars for you, which maybe I should have done. It might take a second. So this is going to create kind of generic prompts type of profile pictures, but obviously there's a text prompt here too. Well, I can do it. Let's say what I got Godzilla fighting Santa. Let's do Godzilla fighting chicken. So you can make this whatever you want. This prompt supports a lot of inputs. You can do all sorts of fun things. You do have the content restrictions of what generative AI will do, but for the most part, you can do whatever you want. Everything in our platform is hex based, so you kind of end up with these hex images. But let's say I like this one of Godzilla here, having a showdown with a chicken. That's great. Now that's my profile picture. Instantly, this is what everybody will see on the site. You can change it as many times as you like, dial it into where you want. We've had thousands of hours of people spending on building their profile pictures. That's pretty great. So you can do whatever you want here. You also, in your profile, have your socials. I don't have it turned on my account right now, but when you join, you'll get a little progression journey. Say, add a profile picture, add your socials, join a group, share detection to sort of get your validated. See, I have this blue check mark up here. That means I've gone through the validation process of sort of sharing who I am at a bigger level and becoming part of the community. You don't have to do this. People you invite don't have to do this. It's totally optional. You can use the site either way. But if you add, your LinkedIn right here, your, X Twitter, your Blue Sky, your GitHub, that way people will kind of know who you are. Again, we have plenty of people do it anonymous on site too, but that's there for you. That will also help you get the completed profile. You can edit this right here, where you could come in and change your name, username, your preferred detection language is what the AI will start out with. So there is a few options here. We try not to make profile too complicated, but there it is, and this is sort of what follows you around, right? So other than that, as far as this up here, you can go in and see. This is a real quick kind of see who you're following. You can sort of pick people. So if I come into let's say I'll just start with leaderboard here. If I go into leaderboard, I'm like, oh, I want to follow George here. So I don't, there he goes. Okay, so if I go to George here, I can follow him, and then I become one of his followers. We're not super focused on follower logistics because a lot of what we do is open sharing, but it is nice. It's a little more usable in groups, which we'll get into. You see here, George has a nice profile. He's shared tons of detections. He has his LinkedIn, looking good. This is somebody that I want to follow, kind of know more about. So that's profiles. Again, if you have questions about that, you can always ping us if you have some issues with it or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's kind of who you are on the site now. And you'll notice if you've been on the site for a while, we've changed the front page quite a bit. So we have found that a lot of our users want to start with Intel as their starting point to create detections. If you're really interested in a deep dive in that, like I mentioned, you could go watch Tim's introduction to detection engineering and detection AI, really deep dives into how to make that slick and awesome and all those sorts of things. He does cover sharing a little bit in here, which I'll sort of recover. But this is great. You could go into any of these. You'll see there's Notepad++ one. You'll see all the different detections that have been written and shared. Wow. Okay, so a lot. That's great. Different languages, all that kind of stuff. So this is very Intel focused. It'll give you a little assessment on the Intel. Way more to come here. We're trying to make Intel even better, more in depth, multiple articles, multiple sources of knowledge and context. So that's kind of the next thing we're going to be doing. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, if you're watching on YouTube, that's already done. But that's kind of the new front page of the site, is to really focus on, I guess, sort of, I'll call it news of the day, or things that we see the most people creating detections for algorithmically, and then we'll sort of highlight that. So up here, and you can also see, obviously, every detection has that identity attached to it. So that's pretty great. So if you're Dutch boy here and you contribute a detection for OPAT++, obviously we're big into credit and showing the authorship of who originally shared those. Um, so that's how we redid the front page for Intel. We've also redone the front page for leaderboards. So we just launched this February 10th, so 10 days ago. It's a very new thing to us. We're really excited about it. Um, we are not trying to build a bug bounty program or a pay for play program or whatever that, but we do recognize the fact that this site is relatively worthless if people aren't sharing. That's the point of the site, is to share detections, to share intel, to share progress, to stand on the shoulders of people that are smarter than us and help us find the way to where we're trying to go. So we decided to recognize that through leaderboards. These will change every month into sort of what we're trying to highlight that month. Right now, it's based on just total number of contributions. This may become language specific, event specific, um, you know, time of year specific. It could be the holidays. We're going to do a ransomware one. It sort of depends on kind of what the people want and the feedback we get on it. So if you look at the leaderboard, obviously this right now is just scoped on total detections contributed. If you hover over this little ID marker here, you'll see some rules about what we're trying to do, what the rewards are. This particular rewards for this month are invites and trips to Vegas for DEF CON, and then also coming to our upcoming DEF CON event, our DEF CON event in Vegas, which we're pretty excited about. And then obviously, the people that aren't in that top three, we still want to give some recognition to. We have Caroline has worked on some, and Tim have worked on some pretty great swag, really cool stuff that sort of recognizes the fact that you've been a contributor and a part of this community. Could not be more excited about that. I cannot wait to wear mine. It's really cool. So that's coming for February, or it's here. And so if you contribute and get into this leaderboard, you will be recognized. Don't have to. Again, all of this is optional. But that's the way we're kind of thinking about it. So again, for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar or trying to learn, these contributions come from our Discover catalog, which is basically all of the detections that have been shared to the community publicly to everybody. And you can see here it's in the well over 10,000 range of different detections that have been shared either through community syncs or individual contributions. It's a pretty dense collection of detections, lots and lots of contextual searching here, filtering. I'm looking for the detections that Tim wrote. Oh, good God, he's already at 713. So he's written a lot of detections since he's been here. And here's one from 55 minutes ago. And then you could come in here and obviously see this detection. So I can pivot into Tim's profile. There he is if I want to see who did it. And then obviously everything else from there is about the detection, right? So we do allow instructions. I'll take you guys through this in a second. We do allow to share many different languages. I actually don't even know what the count is right now. It's 15 plus different command detection types you can share. RER, Sigma, KQL, SPL, like a bunch of different options. Suricata, really cool stuff that you can share and also build with AI. But here's just a nice detection that Tim wrote. That's great. And then we do have a comment structure. So I can comment on Tim's detection uh, and then post that. And then Tim will see, he'll get a notification that he has a comment, and then he can come back in and respond to me. If you don't like the comment, you can delete it. The person who got it can delete it. So we do have quite a bit of control over comments. But it is sort of a reply thread comment structure. So we've gotten pretty good adoption out of this. I think we just launched this last month, and it's been pretty great to see conversations happen. Obviously, we want to keep it positive. If anybody gets out of line, we will ban them. But for the most part, we find this contribution in this community pretty great. So that's generally like how you would look at a detection and think about it. I do have the ability to save it to my library, which I'll go through in a minute. I will like this. Liking just lets the author know that you appreciate it. We do some algorithmic rewarding on likes and getting them, to know that the detection's being their most viewed or their most liked. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. The rest of this I will probably show you in one of my own detections as I sort of build this. But this is nice things to do with other people's detections.
Hey,
Um,
Aaron,
yeah,
I have a quick question for you. If you're commenting on somebody's detection or their rule, sorry, excuse me, can you link maybe another rule? So I know we've talked about, keeping these comments positive and continuing to help each other get better, grow, build. If, and we always say, if you don't like it, do it better, make it better, do
right.
it yourself. Could somebody comment their own rule and say, hey, here's how I did it? Or are the linking privileges off?
Um, no, they actually, so the way that we do detections, so let me find, let's do this one, is every detection has a hard-coded rule ID that's permanent. And this also gets into sharing, which I'll get into. But you can take any detection, or actually anything. You could take a URL from a threat blog or whatever, and you can come in and comment on that.
Awesome. That's good to know.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry for the
Oh, there you
interruption.
go. So it does defang it, just for the record, because we don't want people posting malware on these. But it is there for you to add your own detections. You can add your own, articles, whatever it may be. To I'll say Tim gave me a little thumbs up on my comment. So this is meant to be conversational. This is meant to be safe as we can make it. So yeah, you can post sort of lateral data on here. We will have the ability to post larger threat briefs with multiple sources and multiple detections, and then share those. Also, we just haven't built that out yet. So this is conversationally where you can create an interaction with the person that you probably don't know, but you want to show them maybe new data, maybe an article. Paolo wrote an article about this today. Have you seen it? This is a great place to do that
Cool.
without
Thank you.
causing any real
Sorry to
trouble. It's a great question.
sidetrack.
Thank you. No, comments is something that is new to us, but we're trying to make it better every day and try to figure out how to make it more usable, enjoyable, safe, I guess I'll kind of call it. There's always a question when you give 10,000 plus security guys comments, like what's going to happen. But so far, so good. Nobody's really done anything horrible with it or done any sort of security attacks or anything like that. So far, so good. So that's kind of how you interact with other people's stuff. I obviously save this to my library. I can go to my detection library. You'll see here's a detection, published an hour ago by Tim. It's in my library. I can now do all sorts of stuff to it, like reshare it, copy it to my team. Um, and teams, most of you are not going to see this, but we do have the ability to create collateral, like groups that share detections. I'm not going to get too much into that today, but if you have a company or working group, we have the ability to add a team. It is different than groups, which I'll get into also. So this is just your normal library. Think of this as sort of bookmarking. I don't own this. If Tim changes it, it will be reflected in um, uh, the rule. So like if he updates it, adds a new piece of data, this will be reflected in my catalog. So this is sort of like bookmarking versus building your own. Um, just as a side note here, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, when you're in your library, you can pivot to MITRE coverage and see how your library matches up against the um, MITRE library of attacks. So this is based on V18. So there's a lot of coverage here. Obviously, you can see I don't have a very full library. I haven't done a lot of coverage for things. If you dive into one of these, you can see here I have no detections for reconnaissance. There is an ability here to pivot over to the library. I am going to go, oh, I really like the Kerberos user enumeration. I'm going to save that to my library. And you can see I just, in real time, I now have partial coverage for this part of MITRE. Again, this isn't a depth question. This isn't going every single problem is solved for, but this is letting you know that you at least have detections that cover that particular MITRE technique. So hopefully that makes sense. If anybody has any questions about that, let me know. Um, but that's kind of the way we think about libraries. And I'm not going to get too much more into libraries today. It is searchable. It is sortable. We have customers that have tens of thousands of rules in the library and use us to organize it. That's great. You don't have to use it that way. You can integrate with GitHub right here if you want. So if you have a big detection library that you want to get over detections AI, you can implement GitHub sync. It's pretty useful. Also, in case anybody's trying to like add, if you're a contributor, try to add a bunch of stuff. We do have the ability to upload detections en masse. You can upload a zip file with 50 YAML files in it or 50 SPL files. System does a pretty good job at analyzing them and processing them. But again, at the end of the day, you might have to go back in and kind of re-notate them depending on how much data is actually in the detection itself. But this is a really useful way to do it. There's also a way to just add a manual detection, cut it, paste it in, and have the AI do its thing and tag it for you. So if you wanted to do it that way, you can. So just as an example here, I'm gonna just create a quick rule. I'll do Notepad. Why not? I know there's a lot of detections already for it, but I'll show it. So those of you who haven't gone through this process, when you use our AI, it's going to use the AI engine to write a rule, but it's going to use the intel as context. So in this case, I'll do a Sigma rule. So create me a Sigma rule. It's going to go out. It's going to take the intel in, should process in relatively quickly, depending on how big the source is, how complicated it is. Um, should show deep think here in a second. Um, so, like all things AI, like it's sort of, a journey, right? It depends on how fast the engine is, how dense the request is, how big the context window is, even things like normal internet speed. So it can vary dramatically. We try to stay relatively responsive. So the first thing it's going to do is summarize the intel for you, give you some ideas of the actionable threat data within the article. It does a pretty good job of pulling out what I would sort of consider to be backstory, right? It's valuable if you're reading it, but the AI doesn't really care. So it's really going to focus on these, and it's going to take these and turn it into kind of core detection recommendations of like what it thinks the most important things are. It's going to try to assign it a pyramid of pain value. It's going to try to assign it minor values. Um, I will do C2 signaling. Why not? So again, it's giving you the right exfil over C2 channel kind of guidance. It should go out and sort of build the rule for you. You can expand this out and sort of see the deep think of this. And obviously, everything we output is manually tunable. This is I think, very mediocre rule. Not very great. Anything that's writing out to temp.sh site, which probably is a decent IOC. I don't know that I would necessarily write a full Sigma rule for this, but regardless, let's say that this is what you wanted. And you're like, this is awesome. This is exactly the problem I'm trying to tackle. So you go ahead and save this. Um, this is the stage where it sort of creates all of the um, metadata, if you will, around the rule, what the right tagging is, what the appropriate kind of, uh, uh, I guess I'll call it like the CVEs, if it's relatively, this isn't very CVE related. So again, it sort of fills in what it can. You can see here it has some ideas of like where this would work. I probably would take these off. It's probably just going to go in generic American log. You can edit all these. If you change something, so like this is an editor. So like let's say I want to change the author, it will change it here. Depending on how much content you change, you can re-autofill it. So again, if you make a big dramatic change, it might change some of the tagging, some of the CV data or whatever. But in this case, I just changed author, it doesn't do that. But you can kind of have a back and forth with this. So when I save this, you're going to see some options. Update and publish, just go ahead and share with the community. I generally like to look at it first, so I'll save the changes. Now I have this rule in my library. So instructions, I'm just going to say, ignore this or a demo, um, you know, just to let people know that this isn't actually that important rule. So right now in this structure, I'm the only person who sees this. So if I go to my detection library, you'll see here's the one I just wrote. I don't know why it says 18 hours ago. I'll have to figure that one out. But this is the one I just wrote. It's in draft state, and here's the one I bookmarked from Tim. So I'll go back in here, and in this case, I'm going to go ahead and share it to the community. So you'll see this publish right here. Um, when I publish it, it's going to give you different publish locations. And I'll get into groups in a minute, but I'm going to start with just the core Section AI community. Every single user on the site is part of this community. Anybody on the site can share to it. That's the way we structure it. Other groups, private teams, private groups, all that stuff is sort of what your permissions are. But every single person in the platform has the right to contribute to this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to publish it. So it's published. Everybody in the world who's on Section AI can now see this. So if I go to discover detections, think. there might be something off with the timestamp on this, and I apologize. I might have uh, already written this one once. So let me move my name out there. So let's see. Yeah, I don't know why it's showing 18 hours ago. Very odd. Um, I think I maybe redid this one 18 hours ago. So sorry about that. But regardless, it's in the community. It's now searchable. If anybody searches for Notepad++, they're going to see this. If anybody looks at the Intel, they're going to see this. So now I can go back into my own detection. Um, you can always unpublish anything you publish. If you're like, I didn't love that, maybe I want to redo it, you can publish it. If you edit it and resave it, it still stays in its published state. So again, if you want to do it more like you think about doing a Medium blog or something, sort of real-time editing and sharing, you can do it that way. There's a million ways to do this. If I love this rule and I want to get it outside of Detections AI, we do have a share option here. So if you click on share, it has pre-built posting to X and LinkedIn. LinkedIn will actually drop the preview for you. And then also you can just take the link. This link works anywhere. And the cool thing about this link that I'll show you guys, this is really important as a contributor, is when you share this link. So I'm going to go ahead and log out. So anybody in the world gets this link, they get this page, which is a really nice preview. Obviously, you're not just giving the rule away to everybody in the world. You want them to join and follow you and see it. But it does a nice summary of it, shows you part of the rule. And then here they can request an invite or join the code if you've given it to them. Or obviously, if they already a member, they can sign in. I'll sign in. Hopefully this works. And it takes you right to the rule, right? So I was unauthenticated. Obviously, this is my rule, but this works for any rule. So if you share it out, it'll take you kind of directly back into the rule that you want to see. Really, really cool. You guys will see this on LinkedIn or on Twitter. You'll see somebody with the little Detections AI blue box. You click on it. You already signed in. It takes you right to the rule. If you need to join, you can join. If you aren't signed in, sign in. It'll remember that you want to see that and show it to you. So pretty decent magic link for sharing. I use it in Slack. I use it on my phone. Um, Lots and lots of ways to share. You can always download a rule. You can always translate a rule. So if you got to translate, obviously this is Sigma. Whether it's your rule or somebody else's, you can always translate to all these different languages. Really nice if you are deep diving on a threat and want to share it with maybe 4 or 5 different SIM platforms. This is a great way to do it. Instead of just starting the process over, you can use translate. It's up to you. I've seen success with both directions. It sort of depends. Um, we do have this Intel piece right now. This is shared from us. We are working Intel sharing, which will be really exciting. So most of this is coming from our own sort of use case and going like, oh, like Abstract wrote this a couple hours ago. It scores an 8 out of 10 for creating detections. Tim already wrote a detection. I've already saved a detection. So pretty great, right? So like this will grow throughout the day. It'll grow throughout the week. It'll grow throughout history of just people adding more and more detections to this, which is pretty awesome. Um, Trying to make that better. So that's how you share detections with the generic community. When you see detections here, you'll see who wrote them, and then you can see here the variance from the generic community. Anybody could contribute to, and then groups, right? So Jaywan here, obviously that contributed to this group. Ashke here contributed to Securonics. This goes on and on and on. There's thousands of groups on the site. If you go into this, you can see the group. Groups have different statuses, and I'll get into that in a second. But if you see a group and you're like, oh, what are these guys up to? You can always follow a group, and you can always request to join too, if you want. Some groups are public, and I'll get into that in a second. But I'm really interested in what these folks are up to. I guess Denise and Jaywan here, Jaywan are starting a little group to share some detections. That's awesome. Obviously, maybe I want to go follow them on Twitter. This is a perfect example of a group. So in groups, you'll see there's 63 public groups. There's way more private groups. But this is a way to sort of get some, I guess I would say sort of focus around your detections. You can see here they have, you can sort by followers. You can sort by number of detections shared. Some of these are going to be obviously repo syncs like, to GitHub projects and things like that. But anybody in the platform can create their own group. So if I go to create group, you're going to see a bunch of options here. I was mentioning before, this is the one place in the site you can upload your own logo. If you have something already built, you don't have to use AI prompting. You get your image, you can upload it right here. Obviously, you can go build an AI and bring it to you. But this is like I'm Slim KQL and I want my wizard logo. It's a perfect place to do that. Obviously, some image requirements here. You can do anything you want here. So, group name, I'll do webinar. I'm not actually going to save it. Describe it however you want. Uh, let's go with creator group. And then there is some nuance here of the type of group that I want to create, right? So public is anybody can contribute. Most of these groups, everybody can see your content. This is anybody can join and then contribute. And you just are allowing that. It's not moderated. You're not approving people joining. If somebody joins, they're in and they can share. So this is more akin to like a LinkedIn group or a Slack channel. Once you're in, you're in. You can post. If you can see the channel, you can post. Moderated is anybody can follow, anybody can see your content, but only certain people can share into that group. This is by far away the most common group structure. This is, I'm going to start a group and invite certain people in. I want the world to see my content, but I don't want to restrict who can share, or I want to restrict who can share. Apologies. So that's really good. Private is just private. Um, there's below sort of the iceberg of groups in our site is like private. There are a few that are shared, but a lot of them are unlisted. So it's just working groups, ISACs, things like that have unlisted groups. You have to be invited to join. Pretty standard, right? So once you create a group, so I will go ahead and I'm going to just create a, well, I think I already have a group. Hang on, let me see if I have a group. Don't think, maybe I do have a group here. I'm going to go ahead and just create a quick group. Delete it when I'm done. Let's do webinar demo. I'm just going to create a public group. I'm not going to do an image right now. So it's going to create the group. So right now, everybody on this call, Tim, Caroline, anybody can go join this group, and now you're in a group with me, and you can contribute rules to it. Everybody in the world can see those rules. Very kind of wide open. Me as the owner of this group, I can create other admins. I now have this manage option. So manage is going to take you back to this, right? So obviously when this is done, I'm going to hit this big red button. If you want to change your avatar, if you want to change your description, if maybe you do want to go moderated, so public, whatever, that's all changeable here. You can see the members of your group. So there you go. Carolyn and Tim already joined. So yay, they're in my group.
I
I
like
can
to
also
feel
make,
included.
was that?
I said I love feeling included. Thank
There you
you.
go. And watch this. Now you're an admin. So
Woo.
I can flip you over to admin. So now every single click I'm making, Caroline can make. Tim, you don't get to be an admin. I don't let that happen. I don't want to take control of my group. Uh,
I would.
I know you would. A lot of things you can do. Obviously, you can remove people from your group, things like that. This is memberships. This is people who requested to join. Followers is going to obviously include them, but potentially many others. You can obviously do that. A really nice thing here is both these screens, you can export your followers. What that means is this is the only place in Detections AI where you can see other people's email addresses. And from a growing a brand perspective, this is super useful, right? So you can find them on other social media. You can create an email list. You can reach out to them, like sort of, obviously not everybody on the site, but the people who follow you. This also doesn't exist for your own personal followers. This is only for groups. So if you want to start a group around your company, this is great lead gen. This is great ability to give your marketing team some leads and say, hey, these people follow us. Maybe build a relationship with them, invite them to our say party, whatever. Really nice. You also have the ability in here to invite anybody you want. So this is functionally the same as this button. The key difference here is when you invite somebody with this button, which I think is, we need to do a better job of highlighting this. When you invite people with this, not only do they get access to Detections AI, but they default join your group. So if you invite somebody, like let's say Tim wasn't a member of the site, and I invited Tim using this, a Tim at Detections AI, when he joined, he would get in through the process, he would create an account, and then he would automatically be in the webinar group. This is super useful for not having to re-find people once they join. People use weird screen names. You can't see their email address. Like it's hard to find people sometimes in this huge audience. So when they join and are already in your group, it's very nice. So I would highly recommend using that to invite people that you want but also want to be in your group. This is just a quick view of the detections that are shared. You can also view this in the group structure. The last thing I want to cover with groups is promote. So this is really, really useful. So there's a couple things you can do here. One is you can create an invite code. What this means is when somebody comes to Detections AI and they aren't a member, they can put an invite code in and get in. So example would be like when we started the call, we had a community group name. If you go to Detections AI and you aren't a member, you put community in, you're in. That doesn't put you in a group though. If I create an invite code here, when they use that invite code, they will be in my group. So if you go to LinkedIn, you'll see people like Stephen Lim, I'll use an example. You'll see join with invite code Slim KQL. When you join with that invite code, not only are you in, but you are now default following Slim KQL group. So it's a huge outreach program for Stephen and many other people on the site. So that's really useful. You can also create an action link, which is like a magic link. So not only, again, same thing, when they click on that link, they don't have to put an invite code in. They're automatically in Detections AI and they're automatically join your group. There are two options here. One is to join you. So this would be, I want you to contribute. And this would be more for followers. If you created a group and it was, a moderated group and you just wanted people to follow you and see your detections, you would use the generate a follow link. This now becomes a universal link, works anywhere on anybody. If they are already a Detections AI member, this will just follow their group. So you can use this. If you send it to me, I'm already in Detections AI. Obviously, I click on it, I'm part of your group. If they're not, they get the invite code and the group. So it's a really nice way to sort of grow your invite code if you're making LinkedIn posts, if you're making X posts, and you're like, hey, I started a group on Detections AI. Click this link to follow. They'll skip the entire invite rigmarole and they'll just go right in, create an account. Hey, what do you know? They're already a follower of webinar, and they're in. So this is a really powerful screen. We just added about a month and a half ago. This is going really well for people to grow their platform without having to deal with finding people already on Detections AI or figuring out if they already are. There is no harm in giving this link to anybody. If they're already a member, they just join your group. If they're not, they're in. It's really nice. So that's promotion. Again, you can do a lot of different maneuvering here, different types of groups, combined with different types of followers, different corporate structures, private groups. There's a lot of freedom here. If you have any questions about this, let me know or Caroline know, and we will help you figure out the best way to promote your particular goals, whatever that may be. Maybe you want followers, maybe you want to grow your brand, maybe you have a DE consultancy and you want to sell detection engineering services. All of those are available. You can do any of those things on the site. So that's, I think, where I'm going to stop with the creator piece of this. Again, if there's any questions, you can ask questions in the chat or in the QA. Caroline, do we have any questions? Did you see any come through?
We don't have any questions. I didn't see any come through, but on the last slide of the deck that you were sharing previously, there are all of our emails, if I remember correctly. Great.
Excellent. Good point.
All of our emails and all of our LinkedIn. So if you don't feel comfortable asking a question here, or like Aaron said, you want to reach out, you're inquisitive about growing your own platform, starting a group, what have you, please reach out to any of us three. We are happy to help. Otherwise, I think that's it from us, right, Aaron?
That's awesome. Thank you, Caroline, for reminding me to put this up. And obviously, for any of you that are now watching us on YouTube, when we repost this, same thing. Please reach out. Let us know if you have questions. But other than that, thanks everybody for the time today. It's great seeing all the some new faces, some familiar faces on the call, and everybody have a great rest of your week.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.